Καλημέρα σας. Σας ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ για την παρουσία σας και την φυσική αλλά και την διαδικτυακή. Έχουμε τη χαρά σήμερα να βρίσκεται μαζί μας προσκεκλημένος του Τμήματος Θεολογίας του Μεταπτυχιακού Προγράμματος Γεωστρατηγική και Θρησκεία και του Προπτυχιακού Προγράμματος της κατεύθυνσης μουσουλμανικών σπουδών αλλά και του Τμήματος Θεολογίας και του μαθήματος το οποίο διδάσκουμε κάθε Παρασκευή και αφορά στα σύγχρονα μεγάλα θρησκεύματα. Έχουμε λοιπόν την τιμή να βρίσκεται σήμερα μαζί μας ο κύριος Χισέν Σουλεϊμανί, ο οποίος είναι μέλος του Παγκοσμίου Κέντρου για τον Μπεκτασισμό στα Τύρανα της Αλβανίας. I will just make a small introduction about Μπεκτασισm. Ο Μπεκτασισμός είναι μία από τις παλαιές ταρίκα, δηλαδή θα λέγαμε συμβατικά αδελφότητες, που εμφανίζονται στην Βαλκανική Χερσόνησο ήδη από τον 14ο αιώνα, προωθούν την εξάπλωση του Ισλάμ και σήμερα συνεχίζουν να υπάρχουν, Παναγιώτη μου το ξέχασα ανοιχτό, με συγχωρείτε, σήμερα συνεχίζουν να υπάρχουν διάσπαρτες σε διάφορα σημεία της Βαλκανικής Χερσονήσου. Έχουμε και εμείς στην Ελλάδα τη δική μας μπεκτασική ή αλλιώς αλεβιτική κοινότητα. Τα τελευταία έτη οι μπεκτασίδες της Ελλάδος χρησιμοποιούν, αυτοπροσδιορίζονται ως μπεκτασία αλεβή. I'm saying that in Greece, during the last years, the Bektasis community of Greece are also nominate themselves, characterize themselves as Bektashi Alevi, something that you don't use, isn't it?
Yes, they are sometimes.
They are sometimes. Και αυτό που έχει ιδιαίτερο ενδιαφέρον είναι ότι αυτές οι μπεκτασικές κοινότητες που βρίσκονται στην Ελλάδα, στην Αλβανία, αλλά και σε άλλες περιοχές για τις οποίες θα μας μιλήσει ο κύριος Χισέν, αποτελούν το τοπικό Ισλάμ, τις εκφάνσεις του τοπικού Ισλάμ και μάλιστα τις αρχαιότερες και συμβιώνουν αρμονικά και με τους υπόλοιπους μουσουλμάνους που επίσης είναι παλαιότατοι πολιτισμοί, παλαιότατη θρησκεία και άνθρωποι εδώ στην Χερσόνησο τη Βαλκανική. Ο λόγος τώρα στον κύριο Χισέν, ο οποίος είναι ένας από τους νέους Μπεκτασί, γνωρίζει πάρα πολλά πράγματα γιατί ολοκλήρωσε τις σπουδές του στην Τουρκία. You have done your studies in Turkey, isn't it? Και θα τον αφήσω τον ίδιο να παρουσιάσει τον εαυτό του και να μας παρουσιάσει ό,τι νομίζει αυτό σημαντικό για την μπεκτασική κοινότητα της Αλβανίας σήμερα. We thank you a lot for your presence. It's an honor for us and we really hope to receive you more times and to establish a common relation and communication. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I thank you all for inviting me, Mr. Professor, dear my friend, and all of your participants. I hope you will have some small informations and as a basic ones for the Bektashi Sufi order of Islam. And I really thank you all for the interesting to learn more and to know more about our small world. Our world is a small place, but with different flowers. So every flower has its own meaning, own smell, and own goodness. So if we know each other and if we have a good relation, we can make a very beautiful garden for all of us. So first of all, I want to thank you, dear professor. And as she said that we're going to speak about the Bektashi Sufi orders, her practices, something about theological ways, historical part, and let me say philosophy and origin. So first of all, I would like to say that Bektashi is a mystical Sufi order. What does that mean? It means that it's have a mystical practices of Sufi Islam. Sufi Islam, it means a spiritual inside. So only with the spiritual part, not to degree with the material part or for this life. That's why in the Bektashi Sufi order, we have celibat for the clerics, as the Orthodox or the Catholics have it on its way. So even the Bektashi is the only road of Islam that have celibat for its spiritual leaders. After this, Hacı Bektaş Veli was a celibate too, and he lived it on the end of the 13th century. On the end of the 13th century, he founded the Sufi order in the middle of Anatolia. And all his dervishes, so dervish means a servant of the spiritual way, and he sent them all around the world in that period to separate the peace, love, and the true way to God. But what is the true way to God now, if we go in this theological way? For the Bektashis is to be a good human being. If you are not a good human being, you may be a Bektashi, you may be a Sunni Islam, or you may be Orthodox or Catholic, but you are not human being and you cannot go to heaven. So the first of all of it, every kind of philosophical or practical ways goes to the human being. If there is no good human being, there is no religion. After that, the basic parts of the Bektashis foundation started in the 13th century, in the middle of 13th century, where the first missionaries came to Balkan as Sari Saltik and Hıdır Baba. We have, even in Greece, we have about a lot of tekes who was founded from the 14th century before the Ottoman area comes here. And we have here, you know, Dimoteka near the borders of Turkey, Bulgaria, and Greece. That is one of the oldest and the universities of Bektashi Sufi order for 5 centuries here. Of course, the wars came, the peoples got a little angry with their neighborhood, with their friends, with their families. So that's why they was destroyed. The biggest library of the Bektashi Sufi order in Balkan was in Dimoteka until 1826, when the second Mahmud burned the teke together with 600 dervishes. This is all right on the archives of the Ottoman Empire. So if it continues about what's the purpose of the Bektashi is to be a good human being, the philosophical way. What is the base that they practice their theological way is the Quran. After that comes the Bible, the Torah, and the Zebur, we call it, or Old Testament. So all the 4 books for the Bektashi Sufi order are acceptable because even in Quran, we see it that the Quran says that I brought you other books before this one. So I'm going shortly, I'm not going with the Psalms like that. And if you accept them, you can accept even this one. So we are all together. For the one Bektashi, all these 4 holy books, they fulfill each other. They don't separate each other. They fulfill each other to create the right human being and to actually learn the way to come closer to God. Another way, the Bektashi Sufi order had 3 different historical periods, let me say. The rising one, the age of, the best ages, and then coming to the fallment until the new states becomes in Balkans, in Anatolia, and the empire is destroying. And after that, in every state, Bektashis becomes the member of those states and representing those states, those peoples who lived in those states. So we can say it until 17th century, it was the period of rising of the Bektashi Sufi order and becoming a majority in all the Ottoman Empire. But what the Ottoman Empire did, after that, when the other Sunni ideas, let me say like Wahhabis or Salafis from Egypt, and when they came and become power into Ottoman Empire's, ruling part of the Sultan, and then the Bektashis started to be eliminated or to become like an enemy in the Ottoman Empire. So that's why we have 2 big massacres, which was in the 16th century in Anatolia, the first one, and the second one was in 1826, where it was about 1.5 million Bektashis was killed from the Ottoman Empire. Because why did they did that? Bektashis wasn't a political organization. Bektashis aren't a political organization. Bektashis are a spiritual Sufi order, which though not allowed in the society, tries to make peace with other communities, with other different communities. But about the different parts, because of course we all know, even in all world, the state is always trying to control everything. So when they cannot control a spiritual leader, and then they become the enemy of the state. This is naturally in all kind of human beings. So that's why when they become not to listening, or actually they started to not accept the ways that Sultan led his own people inside the empire, and they become the enemy and became the biggest massacre in 1826. After that, we have revolutionary states. We had the creation of the new states in Balkan, as Greece, Serbia, and at the end in Albania, like for independence. Bektashis were participating on it. It's a big man here in Greece who lived at in Nyanya that we spoke before with the professor. Ali Pasha was a Bektashi. And if you read the history of this Pasha, he always treated everybody in the same way as he existed. Not that they are Bektashi or they are Sunni or they are Muslim or Orthodox or Catholic or Protestant maybe in that time. But in this age, when he made them together, and it was an age or a century, let me say, or 20 years of rulement of him, it was when it was prosperity, love, and respect with each other. And that's why it was a strong, let me say, Pashalik, and it was a strong place for civilizations. But of course, we know that when the Balkan War started, for independence ways, it was very influenced from the Russia of the Catherine Queen and the Austro-Hungarian Empire in that period. It was too about from the German influence that tried to have a control over the Balkans when they saw that Ottoman Empire was a little more, not strong that it was. So this made problems between the peoples who lived here, because they started to consider each other as enemy, as a different, or as why is him here or why we are here. We are our owner, the others are not. But the Balkans is a geographical where Ignatia wrote past. Every kind of race, nation has passed it, or culture passed it to these lands. So that's why the differences may exist. But important is that we should know how to live together. And when it was Ali Pasha period, when the Bektashis was a little more majority in Balkan area, we can see that was a little more prosperity and peace. But the World War started. So, Napoleon Bonaparte started the war to take Preveza, to take this one. And that's why it was conflict between religious or human beings in Balkans. If we come together again to our philosophy and our way of practicing into Bektashi Sufi order, we always make a point. The point is the human being. If there is a good human being, and if we treat him or we teach him without ego, and then he can become a holy man. So the most important part is that the person who serves or learns to the Bektashi order, he to become a holy man. A clean man. If you come with a clean heart, then God gives you holiness and you can serve more and more to the human beings. The country of a Bektashi dervish is the world. In which country he lives, that country is his country. So this is a small resume about the philosophy and, let us say, history and the practice of a Bektashi Sufi order. What is the most important thing that Bektashi is in different part, which is the worship. It's called a tekke. The worship place of the Bektashis is called a tekke. It's like so you to understand it, it's like a monastery where the dervishes live there, but it's open monastery. And here there can live even men, even women together. What about the religious practices? We pray together. Men and women are not separated in the Bektashi Sufi order. They are equal spiritually, because just physically we have differences, but the spirit doesn't have a gender for the Bektashi Sufi order. And we pray together, we live together. Even if we have celibat, the priests of our, or the dervishes, the babas who are celibate, they are not hidden from the people. They live together with the peoples. But it's important because when they become a celibate, or when they become a monk, let me say monk in English language, or dervish, we can see it that they have been taught to control their egos. If they can control their egos and try to make it on a good path of humanity and servant of the Sufi order, then they can become a monk, or they have some degree that we call it decret, we call it, degree. It's like a diploma that our World Bektashian Center gives to the dervishes after they fulfill the education in the mystical ways of Bektashi order of Islam. So this is a small resume, let me say, about our practice in religious group. And if you have any question or trying to, yes?
Father George, he's from the Evros region, where the Bektashi community also exists.
Στη Ρούσα και στο Μεγαλοδύριο, αλλά ιδίως στη Ρούσα που είναι και ένας προστατευμένος χώρος από το 2002, με υπόφαση του Υπουργού Πολιτισμού, τον οποίο και εγώ έχω επισκεφθεί. Επειδή είμαι γέννημα θρέμα της περιοχής, έχω κατανοήσει, όπως είπε και η κυρία Ζέκα και εσείς στην αρχή, ότι εκτός από την θρησκευτικές συγγένεια μεταξύ χριστιανών και μουσουλμάνων Μπεκτασίδων, υπάρχει και μια πολιτισμική συγγένεια στην περιοχή, δηλαδή κοινά ήθη έθιμα σε ένα μεγάλο βαθμό, κοινά φαγητά σε ένα επίσης σημαντικό βαθμό. Αυτή λοιπόν η και θρησκευτική και πολιτισμική συγγένεια, η οποία υπάρχει στην περιοχή του Εύρου, προκειμένου, υφίσταται και μεταξύ χριστιανών και μουσουλμάνων στην Αλβανία ή σε κάποιο μέρος αυτής?
He asks. He is coming from Evros region. This is the end of Western Thrace and the beginning of Turkey. And he knows the Bektashi community. And he sees that despite the religious affiliations that could have Christians and Bektashis, and these are based also on the holy books, as you said, there are also cultural affiliations, the way that they experienced their own life in the ground, nutrition, friendship, etc. And he is asking Father George, which is the situation in Albania today between Bektashis and Christians and other probably religions or denominations? Thank you very much.
Well, in Albania, we are brothers and sisters. In Albania, the Orthodox leader, spiritual leader, Anastasios, dear him, we have our world leader, Haji Dede Baba Edmond Brahimaj, which is the world leader of Bektashis. In the same time, he is even for all Albania. And after that, we have the Catholic leadership, we have the Sunni Muslim leadership, we have the Protestants, and we have even the small Jewish community there. But we have an agreement in the paper, not just in the paper, but in our hearts. Because in Albania, we marry with each other. And we don't ask the person, are you a Christian or are you a Muslim? It's important the love to be between them. And the Bektashi Sufi order, or the World Center of the Bektashis in Albania, is the one of the biggest stone who tries to continue this peaceful tolerance and brothership in Albania. In Albania, the Bektashis never ask each other, or even humans inside. It's like an offense to the identical part, because you may believe in the Orthodox way, I may believe in the Bektashi Islam way. But important is that we are humans and we to understand each other. In Albania, there is no tolerance, let's call it. It's a brotherhood. And you can see it even in the newspapers, in the movies, or in the TVs, actually, especially in the news. Sorry for saying movies. In the news, every week we have together meetings with all the communities. Not just us, even the Orthodox Church is very, very, kind to all other communities there. Even the other ones, the Catholics, the Sunni community, they have an agreement from the time of King Zog. King Zog, in 1928, in 1929, when the World Center of the Bektashis moved it into Albania, because in the Turkey it was forbidden. Even today, in the laws are forbidden Bektashi Sufi orders to practice their spiritual or religious ceremonies. And today we have, from the times of King Zog, of course, it was a period of communism and it was closed and the religion was forbidden, but they could not forbidden the hearts of the peoples. They could forbidden by the laws, but not in the hearts. So even today, we have a very good brotherhood in Albania between the religious communities.
Thank you very much. Κάποιος ή κάποια άλλη θα ήθελα να ρωτήσει τον κύριο Κισέν, Σουλεϊμανί. Since they are still... παρακαλώ.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ. Ευχαριστούμε και για την πολύ ωραία διάλεξη. Η ερώτηση είναι αυτή που έκανα και προηγουμένως, σε εσάς να ακούσω και τη δική του γνώμη, εάν η προφορική αυτή παράδοση έχει κάποια αλλίωση στο σήμερα σε σχέση με την αρχική. Και η δεύτερη ερώτηση, τι ποσοστό αυτή τη στιγμή στην Αλβανία ασπάζονται, ας πούμε, αυτή την παράδοση.
He thanks you a lot for your very interesting presentation, and he has two questions. The first one refers to the numbers of the Bektashis today in Albania, which is the percentage of the Bektashi presence in Albania. And the second one is, since now everything is known about Bektashis more on the through the orally tradition, do you understand that exist changes between the different Bektashi groups and changes of the doctrine, of the understanding, of the rituals, and what are you doing about this? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So the first question was about the population in Albania, how much the majority or the numbers are of Bektashis. We have about 45-50% as our registration that we have in our community. We have made, with the leadership of our world leader, Haji Dede Edmond Brahimai, we made a personal registration of the people who think and who believe that they are Bektashis. Okay, today we have a census there, but I don't know what the numbers will come out. But we have our personal registration of the families who are in the south, in the north, and in all Albania around. About the second one, you said about the difference between Bektashi groups, actually, or maybe Alevis or Bektashis, or the namehood that they may hold. We, World Center, have archives. So the archives was coming from old Anatolia, actually. And we have all documents that explains about the rituals, how they have been made it, and how they are. So there is no difference between the rituals that exist, but they may be different because they have spoken a different language and they have a misunderstanding of its way. But, and you know, we passed, in the history, we passed 2 Balkan wars and 2 world wars. So the connection between the peoples from Anatolia to Balkans or to Middle East until to Egypt, and that where Bektashis have been in a place or have their worships even today, was cut. And you know, it was times of states they started to forbidden, they started to control or to stop connection with outsides. So that's why the World Center of Albania, I mean, of the Bektashi order around the world, which is in Albania today, had a very powerful connections and had degrees around the world. I can tell you a document which is in 1935. It's degree for Muharrem Baba, which was from origin Turk, and he was educated in the Tekes and sent it to Kičevo, today Kršova in Macedonia. Or we have another one, which is called Haidar Cemil Baba. He lived it until 1965, and he was a degree from the University of Law in Istanbul, and then he became a dervish. And then he was degreed as a holder of the teke in Denizli, we call it, in Bulgaria. We have another one, which is called Baba Cemal Turku. His name was different, but because he didn't know the Albanian language, when they were stopping the forbiddenness stopped it for dervishes in Turkey, he came together with all the others, with Salini Dede Baba in Albania. That's why, because he didn't know Albanian, and they were saying the Cemali Turku. And it's a lot of jokes because he was a very funny man, very lovely man. And he lived in Elbasan, and he died there in 1955. So it's organization part is also have a missing one, but because of the connections that sometimes were lost and rebuild it, sometimes, of course, people, when they are in a, let me say, in pressure, they must, for the survivors, they will become like others, try to survive. Especially this is in Anatolia or in the period times of war. We have the Bektashi Teke, who was founded from the 14th century in Egypt. Kaygusu Sultan is in the middle of Cairo today. But it was functioned until 1962. And the last Baba there was Ahmet Suri Çoçoli. And he was educated in a scholarship in Turkey. And after that, he was degraded as a dervish and Baba from Salih Niazi Dede, which was the world leader in Albania. And he moved to Egypt to continue the ceremonies of the believers there. But when Nasser came, he took the tekke, made it an army part of land, and the turbis was the tombs was taken out, and the tekke was made it an army base. So today we still continue to search the tombs of our clerics who were there, our holy persons.
Professor Panagiotopulos Petros, he's a professor of moral Christianity, and it's very long, his title, but he's also a physician.
Θα ήθελα να καλωσορίσω και εγώ τον καλεσμένο μας και να ζητήσω συγγνώμη που δεν ήμουν από την αρχή της ομιλίας του. Και θα ήθελα να το ρωτήσω το εξής. Έχω την εντύπωση ότι η αρχή ιστορικά των Μπεκτασί επηρεάζεται, έχει μία σχέση με τον Ορθόδοξο μοναχισμό και ειδικά την μυστική θεολογία της Εκκλησίας. Αν υπάρχει σήμερα στο επίπεδο των θεολόγων Μπεκτασί μία έρευνα σχετικά, κάποια έρευνα ή κάποιο ενδιαφέρον ακαδημαϊκό σχετικά με την σύγκληση αυτή, με την τομή αυτή, με τη συνάντηση αυτή. Ευχαριστώ.
He thanks you also a lot for your presentation, and he asked to pardon him for coming a little bit later. And he says that to our understanding, Bektashism and the beginning of Bektashism has also affiliations and connections with Christianity, and especially through monasticism. And his question is, if today exist theologians within the Bektashi world, that they look for these similarities and differences at the same time, which is, if you have research on this field. Thank you very much.
Actually, the Bektashis always think that the hand have 5 fingers, and all the fingers comes from one place. They may be a little different in the view or in a format, but they are all come from one place. So for the Bektashis, the similarity points are much more with all the world. We are very similar with everything because we are all human at first and we believe in one God. But the difference on a practical way, they come by the time or by the organization part of the, let us say, religious communities. They are researchers who see the similarity and the differences. Especially it was one, I don't remember his name, but the names of the book was Two Faces of Islam, written by an American. He researched all the Balkans, and there is a very good explanation about the two faces of Islam in this book, about the similar points of Islam, the Bektashis, the other groups, and the ex-Christian groups that existed. So even today, we have a lot of similar things, because if you ask, I'm going to tell you a story about this. Our world leader usually explains it, our spiritual leader, and he says, it was once, and it was one person who asked Muhammad, what is your religion? Whose is your religion? And he said, my religion was the religion of Isa, the Jesus religion. And he said to him, okay, what was the Jesus religion? Continues the man to ask Muhammad. And he said, it was the Moses religion. What about the Moses religion? He says to the David, and comes to Ismail, and comes to the Abraham, and after that comes to the Adam. And he said, okay, what was the Adam's religion? He said, it's my religion. It's my religion. So religion is one. It depends on the views or the windows that we try to see it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have also one question. Someone is born Bektashi, or is he, or has to be initiated to Bektashism?
Actually, the Bektashism you can become. You can see it's not by the bloodline, it's by the choosing of the person who wants to become. It's a free choice. Let me see if let me say an example. If two parents are Bektashis, their child doesn't mean it's gonna be Bektashi. It's his choice or her choice to choose on it. After they choose it, then of course they continue the spiritual ways.
And there is a process to become a Bektashi?
Of course, there is a process. As I told you, it's about the ego. So first of all, we know the person. We try to understand him, what his wishes are. And after that, we explain to him our beliefs, our ways of beliefs. And he will accept it, if he accepted or she accepted. And then it's a process of education.
Thank you very much. Do we have also questions from the website? No. Παρακαλώ. Θα σας το φέρει ο κύριος Τσιρέβαλος. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ, αγαπητέ Νικόλα.
Thank you very much for the opportunity you give us to learn about Bektashi. I want to ask, you said that the basic pillar of your faith is to be a good human being. In Orthodox Christianity, we say that no one is worthy to go to heaven. That is a gift of God. And we talk about ethicism. We talk about the danger of ethicism. What is the criteria for you to say one is a good human being and other is not so good, so as to gain heaven? Thank you.
Okay. If you think that the other is not good, then you should know that you are not good. Because if you see the mistakes to the others, that means that they are your mistakes. And if Nesimi said that God is inside me, but the people don't see it, or I don't see it, so the point is to you to understand that you are just a human being, just a nothing. And if you understand that, then you will never see the other's mistakes. So this is not the point that we take a person, examining him, or making, let me say, experiments with a person. It doesn't mean that. It means that we see him or her, or they see us, and then we fulfill each other. So it's different kind of philosophical process. But to say that this guy is a bad, you cannot say it. It's not on your right in the Bektashi Sufi order. God knows which one is good, which one is bad. It's important to see the deeds on it, not the words, the deeds. If he do good things and he do good things for the humanity, first of all, and then he is considered as a good person. But if he is holy, he is not, we don't know that.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Ο πατέρας Θεοδόσιος, Father Theodosius. And he's a student here, and we are very happy to have him with us.
I would like to ask you if you can identify in this order, which is a Sufi order, a secret Sufi order, elements of Orthodox tradition, like the use of wine, celibacy. And was this a kind of resistance of the locals to the Ottoman conquest in the eras where it was established first? I don't know if I was very lucid, but this is my question. Do you identify a tradition in Bektashism, pre-Islamic, that also survives now in your tradition? Those elements I told you, we as Orthodox, we can identify this tradition easier than you maybe. But do you identify those elements in this tradition?
Well, pre-Islamical parts, if we continue to, if we go on that way that you asked, Your Highness, it's the part that in every nation we have them, in every part of the world. But why they maybe look into the Bektashi Sufi order? Because a Bektashi dervish, that you say, or a Bektashi, when he's going to a country, first of all, what that he does is to respect the tradition of that peoples who live there. And he is not trying to change them or to change the peoples. So that's why it's acceptable. But that doesn't mean that they are practical ways on the pre-Islamic into the Bektashi Sufi order. In the same time, I would like to proceed. If you see it about the wine, so you said, so if you see it, I don't think, and with Bektashis, we don't think that God will ask us tomorrow, did you drink this or did you drink that? He was going to ask us what you did, what you not did. This is our philosophy.
If I can ask again, but this tolerance you just mentioned is an element of Christianism. We don't see this in Islam, in Orthodox Islam, Sunni Islam. They divide the world to Dar al-Harb and Dar al-Islam. So this seems to our eyes as an element of pre-Islamic Christianism that survives in Islam. This is what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Can you identify this in your tradition?
Actually, I'm not going to agree with your thing. It's not my idea. I respect it, of course, but if you see it in the Ottoman Empire, as we see it because it was closer and we have more details about the dates of the sultans, you can see it that all of them have drinking wine, maybe 70% of them. So if you see that, it doesn't mean that it's a religious part. If you go to the Abbasid period of Islam, you can see it, all the wine stuff, you have it. I mean, you can just take a wine now, but there are different ways of living there that is written on the history that Abbas did this, or he was drinking this, he was doing that. And if we go a little more earlier, I mean, before, in the middle, let's just say on the 12th century, we have Omer Khayyam. I don't know, have you heard about him? And he's a big writer that explains how was the feast happening inside the Muslim community or Islamic community, and he did it himself. So I don't think this is a part of that your idea was. So I think this is just a part, even today's, if we see it on the today's line, it's just, I think, propaganda that tries to make agroupations. That's my idea.
Thank you.
Please.
And what is very interesting, if I may, is the way that today we see methodologically and from the point of view of the science, how we study the other. So about Sufism, there are three main phases. The first one begins at the late 18th century, let's say until the beginning of the 20th century, and is through colonialism. So we have big colonels, even Lutheran theologians, that they are trying to understand Sufism, and they speak about Sufism to the Western world through Persia mainly, and they want to understand Sufism through Christianism by undermining Islam. The second phase that began from, let's say, the beginning, late 19th century, beginning of 20th century until the middle of the 20th century, then we still understand Sufism, something like alien, let's say, mainly from Islam. And mainly we try to find the Neoplatonic, Hinduistic, and Christian also remains within Sufism. But at the same time, they understand also the correlations that exist with Quran and the heart of Islam. And they are studying also Sufism from this point of view. During this period where we have also the Nahda, that the awakening within the Islamic world, we have also Muslims, great Muslim personalities, that they don't condemn Sufism, but they are afraid of him in, let's say, on political terms, like Muhammad Abdu, Al-Afghani, Rashid Rida. They want one political direction after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, and their Sufism, let's say, the diversity within Sufism, it's very difficult to handle politically and to understand. And the third phase is the phase that we are running even now. And this, for me, it's the challenge of our period, is that we have our own understanding about Sufism that is not stable. So we have to know the people from the communities and to go further by respecting and reconstructing what it has been constructed before. Thank you very much.
To say something else more, and then to thank you all if you have any other questions, of course. If we say about the forbidding things in the religious parts, and we incorporate them or we mix them with the state judgments, and then we cannot continue or we cannot understand the right faith and what is the state. I mean, if we see, I'm going to give an example, because in the times of the fourth Murad, it was even the coffee was, even the smoking was forbidden. So is this kind of religious, view, or it was his view or the state's view? So if the religion never forbidden some things, they try to teach you. They try to teach you what is the best for you, but the human being's decision is to decide to do it or to not do it. But when it comes to the states or to the powers, political power, let's say, they push you to do that. So this is a different part that we should understand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's finish with the liberty that exists within Bektasism, and I can ask kindly our head of the school, Professor Nikolaos Mangioros, to come here. Να κλείσεις for the closure. Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Well, I would like to express my gratitude for being here. Although we study religions, having your presence, a real presence for somebody who belongs to a religion is very important for our students, but also for ourselves too. And we hope that what you started today, it will be continued. And probably we could come also to visit your teke in Albania. And I'm very glad also because our priests here, students, are very interested also, and they already noticed some common maybe issues that are related through this history with the Bektashi movement in the more general more general frame of mysticism, religious mysticism that is, I think, common in different religions and in different denominations. So thank you again. Our school of theology is always open.
Thank you.
And also our students are, how can I say, they study issues as freedom of religion, and respect of the religions is one of the targets of our undergraduate programs. We have two undergraduate programs in our state faculty of theology. One is on Christianity and the other is on Islam. So in a way, we also promote this freedom of religion and the right to all people, all Greek citizens, but not only Greek citizens, to have a higher education of equality and in brotherhood. So thank you again for being here. Να ευχαριστήσω και όλους τους αγαπητούς μας φοιτητές από το μεταπτυχιακό πρόγραμμα σπουδών μας, από την κατεύθυνση μουσουλμανικών σπουδών, από το πρόγραμμα μας στη θεολογία και το μάθημα για τα σύγχρονα μεγάλα θρησκεύματα. Ήταν μια συνεργασία που κάναμε με τους συναδέλφους που διδάσκουν στα συγκεκριμένα προγράμματα και επίσης αυτούς που μας παρακολουθούν από το ίντερνετ. Θα ακολουθήσουν και άλλες τέτοιες εκδηλώσεις, συναντήσεις, οπότε είμαστε εδώ για να τις παρακολουθήσουμε, να τις σχολιάσουμε, να συμμετέχουμε. Λοιπόν, ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Thank you very much.
Και επίσης
I
τα
would-
παιδιά εδώ
Yes, I would
τον
like.
Γιώργο το Φούζα, for our technical
Yes,
assistant
thank
here,
you.
support, yes.
Professor
And
Pachis,
Professor Pachis,
you.
of course.
that he
Thank
has started today, and he has to interrupt and start again.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation. Hope to